Hey, happy Halloween, everybody. As you can see, I'm all decked out for the holiday, and if you know what my costume is, then you freaking rock. You're my kind of people. Remember this little bastard over here? The son of a bitch from Ghosts and Goblins? Who would have ever thought that Capcom would give Firebrand his own video game? But that's exactly what they did. In fact, they gave him 3. So, it being Halloween and everything, I figured, what the hell? I'll go ahead and cover the Gargoyles Quest Trilogy. In 1990, Capcom released the first in a trilogy of games featuring the Red Arremer, also known as Firebrand, called Gargoyles Quest. Firebrand made his first appearance in the 1985 arcade classic Ghosts and Goblins, starring as an antagonist, a pesky demon in Sir Arthur's bonnet. The Crimson Beast later returned in Arthur's subsequent adventures, continuing his reign as perhaps the most hated of all of the Bearded Knight's nettlesome foes. Gargoyles Quest precedes the Ghosts and Goblins series and is a side story of how Firebrand came to power in his homeworld, the Ghoul Realm. Released for the Game Boy, Gargoyles Quest combines side-scrolling platform levels with the bird's-eye view of traditional RPGs such as Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. Instead of people, towns are inhabited with an expansive cast of monsters, oftentimes ruled by demon barons or kings. Firebrand is assigned on various quests to assist these regal ghouls in fighting against the dreaded King Breager. While traversing the overworld map, Firebrand encounters random battles, much like the aforementioned RPGs, which then switches over to a short side-scrolling stage with several baddies lying in wait. Eliminating these foes rewards Firebrand with invaluable vials, which can then be exchanged for extra lives in shops located within the villages littered throughout the Ghoul Realm. In addition to random battles, Firebrand also confronts stationary monsters, oftentimes impeding Firebrand's advancement to unexplored areas. The majority of the side-scrolling areas places Firebrand within caves and dungeons, populated with, well, ghosts and goblins. Firebrand has the ability to fly, or more specifically, hover, with the meter limiting how long he can remain aloft. This is an integral part of the game, as you'll have to make long jumps across crevasses and lakes of fire. Firebrand also has the ability to cling to walls, similar to Ninja Gaiden. Unfortunately, also like Ninja Gaiden, the game suffers from Mega Man-itis, where enemies will instantly respawn once the screen returns to their place of origin. This can be extremely frustrating, but hey, that's just a part of back-in-the-day platforming. But probably the most frustrating aspect of these platforming sections is how slow Firebrand moves. The controls are extremely floaty. Jumping is not a quick action as with your typical platformer. Firebrand's movements feel as if though he's wading through molasses, and it often results in him getting hit. Of course, hovering is one of the mechanics within the game which requires you to adapt to its unique style, and as a result, causes the game to be quite difficult at times. Even with practice, it's hard not to revert to instinct and completely choke when surrounded by enemies by either floating in place when simply trying to leap to safety, or the opposite, falling out of the sky when intending to remain suspended in air. And the environment within the Ghoul Realm is oftentimes lined with spikes, and making simple errors will ultimately lead to your demise. This is an imperative facet in which makes Gargoyles Quest such a challenge. But unlike most adventure games, Firebrand grows progressively stronger as the game advances. His life containers increase, as does his hover meter, and Firebrand is continually rewarded with new attributes, such as the ability to traverse spiked walls. The soundtrack of Gargoyles Quest definitely fits the mood of the game, utilizing the Game Boy's fantastic sound chip with the typical harmonious paradigm that Capcom is known for. And the aesthetics of the game are pretty impressive in spite of the Game Boy's color limitations. The environment is engaging with its simple yet bleak backdrops, and when the dungeons call for darkness, Firebrand and the opposition sport white outlines in contrast with the shadows. And the bosses throughout Gargoyles Quest are fairly large, with incredible detail notwithstanding the lack of a color palette. And Firebrand himself looks evil as ever in blaring black and white, which makes me question the cover art. Were the marketing geniuses at Capcom USA completely unaware of Firebrand's history? Despite being referred to as Red Blaze in the game, Firebrand is represented as a goofy, cutesy green thing, quite literally looking like an actual gargoyle, as opposed to the evil demon that he actually is, most likely the result of redundant westernization. And what the hell are these two little guys? Freaking Pokemon? This is almost as big of a blunder as the Mega Man cover art. Almost. Gargoyles Quest is a good game, but suffers from several faults. With relation to Ghosts and Goblins, it should come as no surprise that the game is challenging, but not always in a good way. The floaty controls hinder your ability to react quickly and is often the cause of your demise. In this regard, it can feel like the game is in perma slowdown, but it's just something you eventually have to get used to. The dialogue is also plagued with bad English, and more than once, you'll find yourself having to answer yes or no to a question that was never asked. But my biggest issue has to be the length of the game. As an action-adventure title, I expect more substance. Gargoyles Quest can easily be finished in a day. Despite this, the game still offers a password feature, which is actually welcome in this instance, mainly due to the harrowing difficulty of the game and the potential to run out of lives. But for a game that incorporates RPG elements into it, I honestly expected more. Now if you look at it simply as a challenging platforming adventure such as Super Ghouls and Ghosts, then the length of Gargoyles Quest seems about right. Either way, if you enjoy the Ghosts and Goblins series or have the desire to pilot an anti-hero in a typical fashion, then you owe it to yourself to give Gargoyles Quest a try. So there you go, Gargoyles Quest. One of the better Game Boy games out there. It's just a little too short in my opinion. Now the game goes for under 20 bucks on pricecharting.com, so I recommend picking it up before the price spikes too much. But it's also available on the 3DS Virtual Console for like 4 bucks, so you could always go that route too if you want to play it on your handheld. So the next game in the series is appropriately called Gargoyles Quest 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Let's take a look. By October of 1992, the Super Nintendo had already been on US shelves for over a year, so it's a bit perplexing as to why Capcom had chosen Nintendo's by then obsolete 8-bit machine as the platform for which Gargoyles Quest 2 would be unveiled, but that's exactly what happened. But seeing as it's strikingly similar to its Game Boy predecessor, it actually makes a lot of sense. Gargoyles Quest 2 basically took what had made the first one such an intriguing adventure and improved on it in almost every facet. Again, we find ourselves controlling the anti-hero Firebrand, who is unmistakably red this time. Returning are the bird's eye view and RPG elements from the first game, with towns once again inhabited by ghouls and specters. The narrative is damn near the same as the first adventure, and although Gargoyles Quest 2 is considered a prequel, the similarities are so close that at times it seems to almost be a retelling of the original tale. Many of the same allies and adversaries reprise their roles in this one, although seemingly for the first time. Many of the quests and items are identical to the first game, so it does seem like Gargoyles Quest 2 is actually Gargoyles Quest Redo. The gameplay is almost identical, but with several improvements. The graphics, for one, are exceptional, with vibrant colors and settings which actually makes the Ghoul Realm seem like quite a beautiful environment. This should come as no surprise considering Capcom's 8-bit resume, and the fact that the game was released 7 years into the NES's lifespan. On the side-scrolling stages where the meat of the game takes place, Firebrand just looks cool as hell, with a badass strut to match. This time around, Firebrand's movements are a bit quicker than its black and white sibling, but the jumps are still a bit floaty, which again adds to the game's difficulty. The hovering mechanics are the same, but there are sections where the jumps have to be precise without room for any margin of error whatsoever, otherwise you'll die. This is immensely cheap and frankly, absolute bullshit. Considering that lives are scarce and have to be purchased once again with vials, pissing away life after life, jumping over a lake of fire is just garbage. Maybe I'm just doing this part wrong, and if I am, please let me know, because I freaking rage every time I get to this part of the game. The overhead part of the game has without a doubt been improved. Firebrand races around the overworld and towns like a hopped up meth head, and long gone are the random encounters with enemies. I applaud this omission, as the random battles on Gargoyles Quest could get fairly tedious. The stationary baddies are still present, and if you ever need to farm for vials, there are monsters on the map which can be confronted time and time again at your convenience. The caves and dungeons are larger this time around, with several mazes thrown in, such as the Mirror Palace. Without a doubt, Gargoyles Quest 2 is challenging, more so than its predecessor, for pretty much the same reasons. Adapting to the control scheme and sluggish movements of Firebrand is all part of the fun, but the game also offers some difficulty in regards to the plethora of fiendish ghouls that lurk around every corner and off-screen. That's one of my gripes with this one. When hovering and then descending, oftentimes you can't see what's below you, resulting in damage or even death. A lot of memorization is required to navigate the labyrinths, and honestly, you really have no other choice as checkpoints are few and far between. Thankfully, once you reach the boss's lair, you don't have to replay any of the stage if you die. And the bosses are much more challenging than the first Gargoyles Quest, and quite colorful and detailed. I really dig the unique look to each demon that is battled throughout. And the soundtrack is typical Capcom. While the compositions are fantastic, it has that tinny sound that Capcom adopted ever since Mega Man 3, which I am not a fan of, but that's just me. Gargoyles Quest 2 is pretty much a colorized version of the Game Boy adventure. What the first game excelled in carries over to this one, but the same can be said for its faults. Despite offering a password feature, Gargoyles Quest 2, like its Game Boy counterpart, is far too short and can be completed within a day. The game is also extremely frustrating at times, which makes one wonder why the final boss is the easiest in the game. Kinda seems like a slap in the face. The game is still good, and I recommend it to anyone who's a big Capcom fan, or simply a fan of demons and monsters, but just expect to be a bit underwhelmed. So the third and final game came out on the Super Nintendo. Demon's Crest. Now just check out that badass cover artwork. It is sweet. It is some of my all-time favorite artwork for a video game, period. I even have the poster. I mean, just look at Firebrand. He just looks so freaking evil, and I just love it. I mean, I've always been into demons and monsters, so it's right up my alley. But it is just an awesome cover. So, with an awesome cover, it's got to be an awesome game, right? Well, let's take a look. "1994 brought us the third and final installment in the series, Demon's Crest, for the Super Nintendo. This time around, Firebrand is on the hunt for the Demon's Crests scattered throughout Demon Realm. Immediately, the dark and gloomy setting for Demon's Crest is in stark contrast from its cartoony brethren. Firebrand looks deliciously evil in this one, as do the many monstrosities who intend on impeding the Red Arremer's conquest. Firebrand moves much more quickly in this latest edition, and long gone is the hover meter, which means Firebrand can stay aloft for all eternity to his heart's content. Good riddance! Of course, this takes away an element to the game which translated to nothing more than superfluous frustration, which is why it had to go. This does ease the difficulty of the game, but it's a more than welcome trade-off as it ultimately results into a more fun and gratifying experience. Also missing from Demon's Crest are the overworld sections, instead replaced with a top-down view in which Firebrand actually flies over a Mode 7 powered map, swooping down into stages and bodegas below. In my opinion, this is a much welcome change of pace, as the most satisfying elements of the Gargoyles Quest series have always been the platforming stages, and very little time is spent in between. The graphics in Demon's Crest are quite impressive, as the detail to Firebrand and his foes are conspicuously illustrated. The backgrounds are rich in color, while still retaining a dark and forlorn aesthetic. And complementing the dreary landscape is a gothic soundtrack which sounds like something straight out of a King Diamond album. With bleak organs instrumenting a speechless elegy, the score rivals that of Castlevania. It's that good. Demon's Crest casts you in 6 stages with multiple paths to choose from within each. Backtracking is an integral part of the game, requiring you to return to unexplored areas previously impassable without the necessary equipment to advance further, similar to the Metroid series. Firebrand learns numerous abilities as he collects a multitude of items, which vastly affects what he can do. Many of the secondary items which are utilized in the first two games return here as well, such as blockbusting projectiles that Firebrand spits across the screen. He also has the ability to morph into secondary demons, granting him abilities to bypass otherwise immovable objects and obstacles. The ground gargoyle, for instance, allows Firebrand to charge his way through certain statues and knock structures aside, revealing new passages. The aerial gargoyle allows vertical flight, while the tidal gargoyle enables Firebrand to swim. Returning to sections within a stage that plain old red demon Firebrand couldn't access before uncovers new items and opens up new worlds, and if you've ever played the Metroid series or any of the Metroidvania games, then you know exactly how exciting this can be. Firebrand also finds himself having to manage his wallet, as currency is dropped throughout the game and can be exchanged for goods within several shops in the Demon Realm. Some of these shops are located on the world map, while others in the only town within the game, which is basically deserted. You won't have to spend any time at all conversing with villagers in this one. Empty vials are hidden throughout, with the ability to fill with impertinent potions purchased at these shops, while spells can also be bought and stored within scrolls, though I never found any of these to be of much use. Locating many of these hidden items is extremely satisfying, looking into every nook and cranny and false wall, as are destroying the numerous vile baddies that plague the dreary landscape. Demon's Crest also has an expansive cast of bosses that are just as impressive looking as the rest of the game. Wolves, demon conches, and this guy who kinda reminds me of
Pizza the Hut
are just some of the nefarious ghouls you'll face off against. Now, collecting vials in exchange for lives is unnecessary in this one, as Firebrand only has a single life, but unlimited continues. So basically he has unlimited lives. This does make Demon's Crest a lot less challenging than its predecessors, but that doesn't mean that it's a piece of cake either. The game offers several ways to complete the adventure, accompanied with different endings, but in order to fight the true final boss and be rewarded with the true ending, all items must be located. Only then will the true final area be unveiled, where you will fight one bitch of a boss, which will leave you ripping your hair out and tossing the controller across the room. Demon's Crest is by far the best in the series. Yeah, it's not as difficult as the other two, but the ability to morph into different gargoyles and backtrack to unearth new areas and abilities is just a ton of fun. And the audio and visuals are some of the best that the Super Nintendo has to offer, hands down. Now, if I have any complaints, it's the same major gripe that I had with Gargoyles Quest 1 and 2. It's too damn short. A couple of days at the most is all it'll take, and for how much the game goes for these days, I honestly don't think it's worth it, despite how good it is. But I definitely recommend it, and it's available for the Wii U Virtual Console, so if anything, check it out there. If there's just one game out of the Gargoyles Quest trilogy that you must play, Demon's Crest is definitely it. So there you go, the Gargoyles Quest trilogy. Now, all three games left me a bit underwhelmed, but Demon's Crest is definitely the best of the three. If there's only one you're going to play, then go for Demon's Crest. It is a lot better than the other two. So which is your favorite of the three? Which game did you like the best? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you guys and ghouls think of the Gargoyles Quest trilogy. So thanks a lot for watching. Have an awesome Halloween, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.